welcome to or welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lena and I make college and book related content here on YouTube, and today I will be bringing you along with me in a day in my life. Obviously a college student here at St. Lawrence University. I think I forgot to mention it in my last vlog about college, but I am a double major in English literature and Francophone studies, which is French. So I'm taking a bunch of classes this summer. I was assigned the summer semester due to COVID things. Today is Wednesday, June 9th, and I have 2 classes today. Last time I vlogged also, I actually lost one of my classes because it was 5 weeks and we are now in the 6th week of the semester, so I no longer have that class, which was philosophy. So today I have my Paris on film class and my British literature survey. As you saw this morning, I was watching one of my films that we're going to discuss today for my Paris on film class. It's called Breathless. And it is a crime drama film, and it's also considered the first film of the French New Wave. Not gonna lie, not a fan. Didn't really like it. Stylistically, I could understand why it would be interesting and why it was innovating and groundbreaking. Content-wise, was not here for it. And this afternoon, I hope to go to the bookstore because I have a purchase that I want to return, and I'll talk about that later. And I also have Thelmo tonight, which is our student government, and I also have rounds tonight for being a CA. It is 9:15 now, so I've been up since 6, and I watched the movie, did that whole thing, and so I have class in about, I think I need to leave in about 30 minutes, actually like 25 minutes or so. So I'm gonna take some time to do some work for student government tonight. I also have a presentation in French class, but I don't really need to practice that because it's going to be super casual, and I already finished my homework for Brit Lit. So as far as my classes today go, I'm doing really well. I obviously have 2 classes again tomorrow, so I'll need to do that homework at some point today, but I am feeling pretty good about my classes that I have today and being prepared for them. For our French presentation, we had to choose an apartment based on a budget that we got, and I actually ended up getting the highest budget, which was 10 million euros. So this is the apartment that I went with. It was kind of a struggle for me to find an apartment that was this opulent, just because it's not really my taste. But this one's in the 16th arrondissement, and it is 9.4 million euros. Yeah, and those are just some details, but it's definitely gaudy and ostentatious and out there. But I decided to go with it because I do prefer this look over the modern look, so at least I'll be able to feel like I'm living in some kind of museum or something like that. But yeah, that's what our presentation is about today. It is gloomy outside right now, and it's about 70 degrees or so. It's been like almost 90 the past few days, so I think it's gonna be like mid 80s today, which is nice. So I'm just wearing this sundress, which is from JCPenney or Kohl's. I honestly can't really remember. And yeah, I'm just wearing this. Best way to stay cool for me is to wear sundresses. And then also I just like to look nice on days I give presentations, so I guess that's why I'm wearing this today. And I have these really pretty earrings that I always seem to get compliments on, and I believe they were a gift from my mom. It is now time for me to log on to my next class, which will be British literature. So it is a little after 1:20 right now. We got out of class about 5 minutes late, and I took a few minutes to pull myself together, but I'm done with Brit Lit for the day. I'm also done with all of my classes for the day. So I think now I'm going to straighten up my room a little bit, and then I'm going to make my quick trip to the bookstore to return a book, which I can explain that whole situation. But yeah, and then I have lots of homework in front of me for this afternoon and tonight, and it is so hot. As you can see, it's become a bright sunny day, which I do love the sun and the birds chirping, but it is hot and I'm definitely struggling a little bit, but I'm hoping this is the last day of the heat wave because that's what I've heard. So I went to the bookstore about a week and a half ago and I bought 2 books. One of them is The Deep by Rivers Solomon. I've wanted to read this book for a very, very long time. I've heard amazing things about it. I've heard amazing things about Rivers Solomon as an author. I'm just really excited to read it, and I don't read a lot of that bordering on science fiction genre, but I'm excited to give this a chance because I think it has great potential, and I also think the cover is stunning. The second book that I got is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. And if you follow book news, book drama, book any sort of that kind of thing, you'll know that recently it came out and came to light that T.J. Klune in multiple interviews stated that his inspiration from this book came from the 60s scoop. And that, of course, are these laws and rules that were put in place to separate Indigenous children from their families and their culture and send them to these schools, just essentially eradicate these cultures. And many children died, many children were abused, many children suffered extreme trauma at these schools as well as their families. And in the news recently, there was also a school that was discovered with the remains of over 200 children. And so these schools have a really dark and disturbing recent past and recent history. And so a lot of people have been pointing out how problematic it is that T.J. Klune, a white author, would use that as the inspiration for his fantasy story, and it's fantasy, and essentially make it these magical children are sent to an orphanage because they've been ostracized by society, and then the solution to that is love conquers all. And that is really not the case. Multiple problems with this. Of course, these residential schools are not fantasy. The way that he handled it and the solution of love conquers all is just not realistic. He also said in these interviews that he sees it as a chance for individuals who can't speak for themselves, that you speak up for them. However, many people have said that in writing this book, he effectively silenced other voices because he's the one with the power. And so people are reading this book and not reading other people's works that refer to these schools. I did read a book recently. It was called AAPI. You can check it out in my April wrap-up. That was all about the residential schools and the impact it had across multiple generations. I highly recommend that memoir. It was really good. And I just don't want to own this book. I don't want to support this thing. If T.J. Klune comes forward and addresses this and kind of goes deeper into the purpose of his inspiration and how much research he actually did, then maybe I'll feel more comfortable with picking it up from my library, but I just don't want to own it. I don't want to be supporting that, so I'm going to attempt to return it. So I'm going to walk over to the bookstore right now, and hopefully they'll do that. Hopefully the bookstore's air conditioned too. I have no idea if it is. I don't know if I'm going to buy another book or buy something else in its place. Like, I don't know if they give me cash or if it's a gift certificate or anything like that, but we'll see. And I'll take you along to show you all that, and then I need to sit down, figure out what needs to be done for homework. So here we go. I am now back from the bookstore. I showed a couple of clips of that, and I ended up returning the book successfully, and then I was going to get a book for myself. I was looking at A Long Pedal to the Sea, I believe is what the title of that is, and then I also looked at a few other books, but I decided to end up getting a graduation present for my sisters. So I ended up getting Beartown by Friedrich Bachmann, which looks really nice with the deep. They kind of coordinate with these upper colors. But I have never read this book. She has. It was a pretty influential book for her high school reading experience. And I wanted to get this book to commemorate her graduation, and so she can add it to her book collection. I really hope she likes it. Likes the gift. I mean, now I need to make a plan for my afternoon with what I have to do for homework. I have 2 classes tomorrow. I have eco poetry and I have women's health and aging. For both of those classes, I have reading to do, as well as some informal annotations for eco poetry, and then real documented annotations for women's health and aging, which is on this site that we use. I have both of those things to do. And then what else do I have to do? I'm hoping to write a thank you letter to my philosophy professor. That's the class that I finished last week. I really enjoyed that class. It was my favorite class this semester so far, which is unfortunate because it had to end first. And yeah, those are the main things. And then I might try to do some Brit Lit reading for Friday to get ahead, because next week is a little hectic with assignments. So I think first I'm going to start with one of my women's health readings. We usually have a handful for each class, so I'm going to start working on that. And then maybe I'll switch to eco poetry or the philosophy thank you letter, depending on how I'm feeling. But before I get started, I wanted to show you a little update to my room. You may have seen in an earlier clip that my mom got me this ginormous plant. I've had to reshuffle my plants around because of how much room it takes up, but it has really beautiful blooms that are coming in of different varieties of flowers, and I really like the added color because my cyclamen, I mean, it basically wants to be dead right now. It doesn't want to be alive, but it keeps drinking water, so I'm gonna take that as a win and try to see if I can get it back to its full glory of having its pink blossoms. And then my African violet is just not in a blooming phase right now. It's still very much alive and drinking and happy and healthy and growing new leaves. It's just not blooming. So I'm really glad I can have a touch of color, because this is the only blooming plant that I have, even though it really, like, it's grown so much since I got it and it's just overflowing out of its box, but I think it's enjoying the heat at the very least. It is now 4:54 and I have to head over to the student center so I can go to the Thelma meeting. We have a few issues to discuss tonight, and then that will probably take about 40 minutes or so, and then I'll come back to my room and order dinner or something along those lines. As far as what I got done this afternoon, I did a lot of reading for women's health, and then I took a nap. I'm not gonna lie, I took about a 20-25 minute nap because I really needed it, and I was falling asleep while I was reading, and that was not very productive for me, so I just took a nap. But now I'm going to head to our Thelma meeting, and I will catch up with you all later. So I just got back from picking up my supper. Basically, we can order on, we call it the Get app, and then I can go to the pub and pick it up. So this is what I got. A falafel wrap. It's spinach, lettuce, falafel. It's pretty plain, pretty boring, but I like it. And then a sweet potato as well. And that's what I'm going to be eating tonight. I'm going to take a supper break. It's around 6:30 right now. I have rounds at 8. So depending on how long I take a break for supper, I'll probably try to do some eco poetry reading, but we shall see. I've now changed into my CA uniform for CA rounds. It's not really a uniform, it's just a t-shirt. Not the most flattering thing. Really not comfortable on hot days and things like that, but here we are. So this is what I'm wearing, and I'm about to head to rounds in like the next minute or so because it's 7:55. So I just got back from rounds and I picked up a chai tea. This is just the way that I celebrate my rounds and give myself motivation to keep going. It doesn't really stay that well mixed, but it's decent tasting. I have a few more pages left for my women's health reading. We had 2 different readings, as I said. The way that I take notes for this class, because it's not really so much as memorization, so much as big ideas and then points you want to bring up for discussion. I just write down things that I find interesting or things that I believe are main ideas. So I'm almost done with this reading. But my number one tip is if you're reading something that has page numbers, write down the page numbers right then and there. This makes it so much easier to write papers, to reference them in class, to know exactly where to go to. It's all there. It's easy to organize, it's easy to look at, easy to see. I do this in all of my classes, no matter the subject, and let me tell you, when it comes time to write papers, I just go through my notebook, look for the main ideas that I want to include in my paper, write down the page numbers, go to those page numbers, pick out those quotes, and I'm done. I don't have to reread things because I already have the notes with the page numbers right then and there, so highly recommend that. But I am going to get started and read the last few pages, and then I have to finish with my eco poetry because I did not get done with that either. But it is about 8:50, so I'm going to do that, and then I have rounds again at 11. Lucky me. So here we go. I just got back from rounds. It is now 11:40 at night. I was secondary CA, so I don't have any paperwork to fill out tonight, which is good news. So I'm going to change my clothes and get into my nightgown and go to bed. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions about college, St. Lawrence related or not, please leave them down in the comments below. I would love to answer them, and I will see you all next week.